مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. We started those things that nullified. So we continue. I can't remember exactly where we reach. Okay, so we're going to start the 100 Masail then. So we mentioned the first principle. The first principle upon which the fast is nullified, Wusul al-Mufti al-Jawf al-Badan, the reaching of a fast-breaking agent into the cavity of the body. A fast-breaking agent, we mentioned all solid, all liquid, and gases that has a perceptible body. That enters the cavity of the body via a valid entry point. And the cavities of the body, here we're speaking about, is specifically the throat, the stomach and the intestine, all of which really form the digestive tract. Valid entry points, mouth, nose and rectum. So if any fast-breaking agent enters any of the cavity via these three entry points, the fast becomes nullified. Right? The fast becomes nullified, and we mentioned about 5 exceptions. We mentioned the exception to the rule. Forgetfully, all these things. This teaches us in 3 or 4 different places. So where exactly unavoidable substances and this and that. Right, so good. So now this is the exam now. Alright. So you have to mention if it nullifies or not and the reason why. Injection, vaccination, IV drips. Does it nullify the fast? Yes or no? No, right? We don't want to think, right? As I mentioned, just apply to the principle. If you get it wrong, that is okay. We mention why, right? Don't mention based on what you know from before where you think. Just apply to the principle, right? Injection doesn't nullify the fast. Why? Because it doesn't enter the cavity of the body. Yes, it benefits the body, affects the body, but doesn't enter any of the cavities of the body. We have applying medicine to the eye. Does that nullify the fast? It does not nullify the fast. This is an exception to the rule. In principle, the fast should be nullified. Why? Because from the eye to the throat, there is a direct passage that leads from the eye to the throat, a duct that leads from the eye to the throat. So, by principle, it should nullify the fast. You have the reaching of a fast-breaking agent into the cavity of the body, except we do not apply that principle because of a clear hadith. When Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kana yaktahilu wa huwa sa'im. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would apply medicine to his eyes while he is fasting. So even though there's a direct passage from the eye to the throat, we do not apply this principle, right? There are 5 or 6 exceptions to this rule. Okay. All this, see, if you understand the principle properly, many of these things will be, hey, that's irrelevant. You don't even have to mention this, right? Swallowing up one's own saliva. We mentioned nothing from outside going inside, right? Nothing from outside going inside. So a person, then if he swallows his saliva, it doesn't matter the amount, that fast will not be nullified. Why you don't have the reaching of a fast-breaking agent from outside to inside. That is inside. As we mentioned, with regards to fasting the mouth has the role of an internal organ with regards to those substances produced within the mouth, right? So swallowing one's own saliva would not nullify the fast, regardless of the amount. However, if a person were to just gross anyhow, expel what he has from his mouth, the saliva he has from his mouth, put it in his hand, and re-enter into his mouth and swallow, then the smallest amount would nullify the fast. Right? The smallest amount will nullify the fast. And that is the same rule in regards to what? Any food, things that are stuck between the teeth from what? Before the break of dawn, it remains stuck between the teeth. We mentioned that what? If it is a small amount and is swallowed, that is pardonable. If it is a large amount and swallowed, that nullifies the fast. Small, large, here what? The books of Fiqh mention hummasa. Hummas is what? The hummasa is a small what? Is a chana. We have what? The big chana, the small chana. Look at the small grain chana around that size. Right? A chickpea. If it were to be swallowed, then that is pardonable. Right? It's pardonable. But understand, if that size, right? Or less, you have to take it out. A person wants to take it out of his mouth, right, and re-enter into his mouth and swallow it, even though it's less than that, a small amount, but that fast would be nullified. Vomiting unintentionally, a person what? He vomits, he pukes unintentionally, he doesn't induce the vomit, then that does not nullify the fast regardless of the amount. Regardless of the amount. What nullifies the fast with regards to vomit, if a person what? Vomits, two things here. A person what? Vomits intentionally, he induces a vomit, and it is what? To the extent of a mouthful, it will nullify the fast. To the extent of a mouthful, this is what? Estimated by lesson. A person will vomit, the amount is such that he's not able to hold back that vomit. So that is approximately any mouthful that will nullify the fast. Also, what will nullify the fast with regards to vomit? A person what? He doesn't induce the vomit, it comes up, right? It comes up, and he deliberately swallows back that vomit, right? He deliberately swallows on that vomit, right? We're not speaking about a reflex action, right? He deliberately swallows back that vomit, it will nullify the fast. Having a wet dream during the day, right? Having a wet dream, a person goes to sleep, he has a wet dream, now he's in the state of janaba, major ritual impurity. Right, that does not what? Nullify the fast, right? That does not nullify the fast. That is different type of person what? He ejaculates with there's physical contact, right? He masturbates, which is impermissible, but the fast would be what? Nullified. Also what? Delaying the compulsory ghusl until after the break of dawn, that does not nullify the fast. A person wakes up in the morning in a state of janaba, he had relation with his wife, he had a wet dream, now he's in a state of janaba, major impurity, internal impurity, then that individual, understand, that does not what? Affect the fast. It's not a condition that person what? The fast is commenced in a state of tahara. No. So if that person what? Wakes up in the morning, in that state, is not a condition he has to what? Take a ghusl before he starts the fast. No. He needs to take a ghusl, however, to perform salah. Right? And normally a person would take a ghusl, right? But understand, listen, they get up in the morning, you just have what? 10 minutes. You get up in that state, you have 10 minutes. Where are you going? You're going to hit the showers, or you're going to get some food to eat? You're going to get some food to eat. Why? Because starting the fast in that state does not affect the validity of the fast. Alright? So you eat, you take your suhoor, this is the barakah, right? And then afterwards, what? You take ghusl for salat al-fajr. Now, applying medicine to the air, oil to the air, right? This does not nullify the fast. Why? Because there's no direct connection from the air to the throat, right? And we clarified that point earlier, that all of the Hanafi books of fiqh, another madhahib, right? They mention that what if medicine is placed in the air, the fast will be nullified. Why? Because it was assumed at that time that there's a direct passage from the outer air to the inner air. But that is what? That is not accurate, right? There's no connection from the outer air to the inner air. The outer air and between the outer and the inner air, there's a membrane, what is called the eardrum. The eardrum what separates the outer air from the inner air. Only if the eardrum is perforated, it has a hole, and a person wants to apply medicine or oil, only then the fast will be nullified. Otherwise, there's no passageway, direct passageway there. Donating blood, taking a blood test. Wait, now that's supposed to be answered. Donating blood, taking blood test, that does that nullify the fast? Khalas, you see, it become what? Right? It become easy now. Based on that principle. What? Because you don't have any enter what? Enter the cavity, you extracted. Right? So you have, okay, cupping would be the same, right? Except what? Cupping, many of the ulama they mentioned, the jurists they mentioned, cupping is what? It does not nullify the fast except that it is makruh. And the reason they mention it is makruh and it's like is because cupping it could what? Cupping in itself does not nullify the fast, but it could lead to what? Weakness. A person could what? It could lead to weakness, and afterwards because of that a person may break his fast. Right? So cupping, it should be avoided unless what necessary when a person is fasting. Kissing. There are two types of kisses, right? Kissing with what? The exchange of saliva and not with the exchange of saliva. Obviously with the exchange of saliva, the fast would be nullified if it what? Is swallowed. Waking up after the break of dawn and not partaking of suhoor, sehri. Alright? Understand? To partake of suhoor and sehri is not a condition for the validity of the fast. Alright? Every time I mention this, I always remember the old man, right? Who woke up in the morning, he said, listen, I woke up about 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't want to, I wanted to keep my fast. I didn't want to break my fast. So what he ate, suhoor to keep the fast. He ate sehri to keep the fast, right? So some people believe, I don't know, you need to what? Have sehri, then you could start the fast. No. To have sehri is not a condition. And if you're going to have sehri, it must be what? Before the break of dawn enters. Any eating or drinking that takes place after the break of dawn, then that fast is what? Nullified. That fast is nullified. Applying Vicks to the nose using what? The normal Vicks inhaler. Right? The normal Vicks inhaler that people use. Right? And applying Vicks in the nose, that does not nullify the fast. Right? Understand? The content itself, meaning what? The chonka, the substance doesn't what? Go into the nasal passage and goes into the throat. Now what happens when you put that Vicks here and you inhale again the coolness, right? You get that refreshing feeling. Nothing actually what? No solid or liquid goes into what? The nasal passage going into the throat. That doesn't happen, right? So if Vicks is applied in the nose or a Vicks inhaler is used, that does not what? Nullify the fast. Also what? The asthma, right? The asthma pump, right? That, or the asthma inhaler, that will nullify the fast, right? That will nullify the fast because that gas has a perceptible body that enters, right? That enters what? Through the mouth or the nose, whatever, and finds its way into the throat. So that would nullify. So understand, but it doesn't mean that a person what? He cannot use it. A person would only use that if there's a valid reason, right? And if there's a need to use it, then khalas, use it, and the fast will be broken. He will do qada in the future. A pain patch, nicotine patch, hormone, any patches, these things, yes, it goes into what? The bloodstream, it diffuses into the body, except it does not what? Nullify the fast. Why? Because it does not directly enter any of the cavities, right? Any of the cavities. Similarly, what? This GTN tablet, right, that is placed, the heart patients is placed beneath the tongue, that diffuses into what? The bloodstream or into the body. That itself, that action itself does not nullify the fast. Why? Because it does not enter the throat. If there's remnants, the remnants of that tablet, if it remains and mixes with the saliva and then what enters the throat, that would nullify the fast, not the diffusion of the tablet into the bloodstream. That does nullify the fast. So if a person has to do that, right, at the end just what? Rinse and spit, the fast would be valid. Eating, drinking, marital relation, forgetting that one is fasting. I think we dealt with that, right? That does not nullify the fast based on the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu when he came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and told the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Ya Rasulullah, inni akaltu wa sharibtu wa ana sa'im. I ate and I drank and I was fasting. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam told him, at'amaka Allah wa saqaq. This is rizq and sustenance. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you what? Food and drink. Meaning it does not nullify the fast so long as it is done forgetfully. What is meant by forgetfully? Not forget that you're eating. A person fully well knows that he's eating, but he is eating or he ate forgetting that he is fasting. Forgetting that he is fasting, that will not nullify the fast, right? Eat or drink or even marital relation, that does not what? Nullify the fast, right? Yes, you asked, I think last year you asked the same question. If the man forget, the woman forget too. Both of them forget at the same time, right? So anyhow, both of them, right? The fast would be nullified. The moment a person remembers, he must spit out. He must what? Withdraw. The emission of what? Seminal fluid without physical contact. Understand this? This is mentioned in the books of Fiqh, so there must be some reality to it. A person what? He ejaculates without what? Any physical contact, probably by mere what? Fantasizing or whatever, and what? Seminal fluid is what? Emitted. That does not what? Nullify the fast. If there's any physical contact, whether it be his own self, his own body, his own hands, foot, whoever, his own limbs, there's physical contact, only then what? It would what? The fast will be nullified. But if there's no physical contact, the fast will not be nullified. Now you have what? The emission of pre-seminal fluid, right? This is what? That clear liquid that comes out from that what? From the male when he's aroused. This is normally before what? Before what? The seminal, the emission of the seminal fluid itself. So this pre-seminal fluid, right, this transparent liquid that comes out, that does not nullify the fast, right? It does not nullify the fast. Yes, it is what? Impure. So what happens? It will what? It will break the wudu. It does not necessitate what? Ghusl. That person only needs to do is wash that area, what? Change that garment and what? Redo a wudu. Rinse in the mouth, rinse in the nose, provided the water does not enter the mouth, often enter the throat, right? Someone asked a question what last week, not here, right? A person what? Water entered the nostril and what? Came into the mouth. Understand, if you have water in your mouth and you rinse, it doesn't enter the throat, your fast is still valid. You put water into your nose, it doesn't go up the nasal passage and enters the throat, the fast is still valid. Alright, understand these are entry points, yes, but if it doesn't what? Actually go into the throat, it doesn't what? Nullify the fast. But what about a person, and it's possible, right? Water enters what? Enters what? The nasal cavity, enters what? The nose, and comes out into the mouth. Does that nullify the fast? Huh? Right, so this is what he taught also, alright? But understand, is there a direct connection from the nose to the mouth? Huh? Is there a direct connection from what? The nose straight into the mouth? It must pass by the throat. It must pass what? The back of the throat. You understand? It must pass, by the throat. You don't have, I don't think that person what? It come down here, so, and then afterwards they have what? Understand? It's not like a T, right? It's more like a Y. It's not like, okay, from the nose, it have an elbow, going back to what? The mouth, and then afterwards it have a line coming out here and going down to the throat. No. Right? The nasal, it must pass the throat to go into the mouth. You check it out and see, right? Ask the doctors and check out that and see, right? It must what? It must pass the throat. Yes, when you say okay, come in your mouth, the most would come in your mouth, but doesn't negate the fact that what? It passes the throat. So once it enters the throat, it will nullify the fast. Alright? And we mentioned earlier also of that what? Of that acid reflux. Right? That acid reflux, what? Most of the time what? It doesn't enter what? The mouth. But you taste it. You taste it all by your throat here. You understand? Check it out and see. Let me know next week. Right? Now a person having what? Firm intention to what? To break the fast. I'm going to break my fast. This fast too hard. I break in my fast. I'm going to break my fast. Right? And a strong determination to break your fast. Alright? That doesn't what? The fast is not nullified. Yes, that person, that is not the ideal thing to say, right? They're taken from what? What are you fasting for? What are you complaining for? This fast so hard, they're going to break my fast. It takes from the rewards of a person. But does it nullify the fast in the sense that when the fast is broken and he has to make qada? No. Right? Understand, niyyah at the beginning is necessary to start the fast. Right? Niyyah is necessary, except that what? That same niyyah and determination to break the fast doesn't break the fast. Right? Doesn't break the fast. Now, same as what? The same ruling for what? Traveling and safar. A person intends to travel, right? He intends to travel and strong what? Intention to travel, right? Just by making that what? Intention to travel, that doesn't make him a musafir, a traveler, and hence what? The laws of safar does not apply to him by what? Just having that mere intention. He has to actually what? Go out, right? And only when he crosses what? The boundaries of his hometown, the laws of safar and travel will apply to him. Bleeding gums, right? Bleeding gums that slips on, goes into the throat, right? That would nullify. This comes under what? Any substances, any found in the mouth but not produced in the mouth, right? We mentioned then that what? If it is what? A small amount, it is pardonable. If it is a large amount, it will nullify the fast. Here now, what is a small amount, large amount? The fuqaha, they have mentioned, if the blood is more in proportion to the saliva, and this is something estimated anyhow. Normally, if a person spit, he would know, right? If the blood is more in proportion to the saliva, then the fast would be nullified. And this, is a habit that we have to, beside fasting, that sometimes when a person gets a cut or injury, what and you see blood, the first place he put in it, what? His mouth. We all studied that what? The early days that what? Blood is what? Impure, najis, right? That is impure and najis. That person shouldn't put that in his mouth, right? He's consuming something that is haram. Breastfeeding, expressing milk, that does not nullify the fast. Right? A woman in a state of what? Hayd, experiencing her menstrual cycle, the moment it commences, yes, the fast is nullified. The fast is nullified. And also, this is a whole discussion by itself. Not every time a woman sees what? Blood, it is her menstrual cycle, right? There are specific laws relating to what? The menstrual cycle of a woman. The least amount of what she would experience is what? 3 days. The most amount is 10 days. Thus, any bleeding that takes place after 10 days is what? Irregular bleeding, istihada, and does not have the ruling of a menstrual cycle, and that woman is considered to be what? Clean and tahir, and has to fast and perform salah. So not every blood that a woman sees has the ruling of any menstrual cycle or menses or haid. Now, a pregnant woman, al-hamil la tahid. A pregnant woman do not experience menstrual cycle. So if a pregnant woman, she experiences what? Blood, she discharges any blood, then that is irregular bleeding, and it does not nullify the fast. It does not prevent her from doing anything that what a woman in the state of any tahara, cleanliness would have to do. Right? Now, I know I put swimming here for that should go down makruhat. Swimming, understand the action of swimming itself doesn't nullify the fast. You want to go and swim, okay, no problem. But understand, I would put this under what? The makruhat. Why? Because a person swimming is jeopardizing his fast. Right? So the water enters the nostril now, right? Comes into the throat accidentally, the fast would still be nullified. Water goes in the mouth, enters the throat, the fast is what? Nullified. So you spoil all the rewards of it is spoiled because of what? Action that you didn't have to do. Right? Go and take a cool off in the shower, right? Or whatever. Understand? In fasting, as we mentioned earlier, something done mistakenly, right? Accidentally, not deliberately, and words like these, right? It happens like this, right? It has no bearing in what? In fast. The fast will be nullified. Yes, the person may not be sinful, right? Except that the fast is nullified and there's qadha, and he has to make up for it. The only exception to the rule, allowance given, is something done forgetfully, eating forgetfully, drinking forgetfully, forgetting that he is fasted, not mistakenly. A person gargling and mistakenly water goes down, right? That is why it is makruh to gargle while a person is fasting. Understand? In wudu, the sunnah is to rinse the mouth, right? In ghusl, the sunnah is to gargle. There's a difference between rinsing and any gargling. That is what? That is for ghusl, that is not for wudu, right? And also what? You sit down over here, somebody sit down next to you and you that's for any bathroom, right? Not for what? Making wudu. Even though that is a condition for ghusl, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned a person what? A person should not gargle even though what he has to take a fard bath. Why? Because if he is fasting, right? Why? Because if that person is what? Gargling while he is fasting, then what happened? Is a possibility that that water could go down accidentally, mistakenly, and the fast will be nullified. Right? So even a person what in need of a fard ghusl while he is what? Fasting, then he should what? Merely what? Rinse the mouth. Now, the usage of what? Tampons, contraceptive coils, insertion in that does not what? Nullify the fast. Right? Tablets and pills what? Placed beneath the tongue. Right? We mentioned that. Becoming unconscious. Understand? Becoming unconscious does not nullify the fast. Right? Becoming unconscious does not nullify the fast. If that person was fasting and he becomes unconscious for a couple hours, right? That does not, when he regains consciousness, that does not nullify the fast unless what? He's administered some medication that what? Enters the cavity. Meaning what? For him to regain consciousness, they give him something to drink or I don't know what, right? And it enters what? The cavity, then the fast is what? Nullified. Otherwise, the action of being unconscious does not nullify the fast. Yes, being what? Insanity. If a person becomes mad, a person normal but becomes mad, okay, that nullifies the fast, right? But understand that that's rare. In the sense that, listen, a person becoming unconscious, it is normal that he would regain consciousness, right? A person becoming mad, he loses his what? Sanity. Then that is rare that what? He regains what? That sanity in any what? Short period of time. Right? And even though what? He remains what? Insane, he's not mukallaf, he's not subjected to the laws of the Sharia. He doesn't have to fast, doesn't have to perform salah. Right? If he doesn't do it, he's not sinful. Right? You know, sometimes you look at mad people and they do all kind of madness, right? And all the madness they do, you know they're not accountable. Look at this madman now, what should he doing? Some people, when they call mad people to the masjid, hey, you calling mad people to the masjid for? They don't have to perform salah, what you call them in the masjid for? You treat them good and this and that, but they're not mukallaf, right? They're not accountable for their actions. You understand? They're not accountable for their actions. So what they say, what they do, subhanallah, they're not mukallaf, they're not accountable in the court of Allah. We now, we say, they watch this old madman, and our statement, we are accountable for that. Right? Whatever we utter, yes, we are accountable because of our sanity. This is why having what? Having what? Sanity, being saved, this is a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person doesn't want to lose his sanity just like that. That is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He takes what? His sanity from a person. Right? So when you see a man walking mad in the road, yeah, alhamdulillah, that we give thanks to Allah azza wa jalla, He didn't make us like that. Otherwise, anyhow. Yeah, so you don't have to call mad people in the masjid. When you understand, when you speak about mad people, there's not people who play mad, you know. You have plenty people who play mad. We talk about a real mad person that lost his what? Sanity. Now, dialysis, right? Dialysis, that action itself, understand? The action itself doesn't what? Nullify the fast, right? Yes, the blood or whatever goes, it comes out, then goes in back, right? Fluids out, in. That process does not, by itself, does not nullify the fast. But generally, a person doing dialysis, yes, he may need to take what? Oral medication and this and that. With that oral medication, that would nullify the fast, but not the dialysis itself, right? So that's why some people will take that, they do the dialysis what? After hours and this and that and whatever. I don't know how that is work. Meaning what? With fasting, if that what? Manageable. dental fillings, tooth extraction, and cleaning, all these things, in itself, it does not what? Nullify the fast, right? But I would put it under what? Makruhat, unless there's a valid reason. You haven't had toothache, you had to sort of that, right? But generally, you make an appointment to what? For root canal. If it's not an emergency, you make an appointment for cleaning and this and that. Any dental appointment, right? But what I need to do it, that is makruh and dislike. Why? Because, listen, one spraying water and one vacuuming. You think everything is coming through the vacuum? It will go down. And how the mouth is, the mouth and the throat is positioned also, it will enter, right? When I say it will enter, what, 90% chance it will enter, right? So delay that until after Eid. Now, so all this what? Any cervical smear, pap smear, all these things will not nullify the fast. Why? Because there's not a direct a sequence of any connectivity, right? That leads to the cavity. As we mentioned that earlier. Even what internal, what ultrasound examination, right? That does not nullify. Why? Because there's no direct any passage from that area to the intestine, which is a cavity. Inhaling fumes from paint, glue, gasoline, chemicals, all these things. Why? It doesn't have a perceptible body. It's like smelling a rose, right? But you don't go deliberately and smelly glue or smelly paint, but khalas, even if you do it deliberately, it does not nullify the fast. Why? Because there's no perceptible body in that. As opposed to what a person would deliberately inhales what? The smoke or the dust, right? Or the cement dust or the sand dust or what? All these things, he deliberately what? Inhales it. And it will nullify the fast. As we mentioned earlier, that is what are unavoidable substances because of haraj and difficulty. If it enters, it does not nullify the fast unless a person deliberately what? Enters it into his cavity. Acupuncture, external usage of what? Cream, lotion, ointments, external usage of what? All this rubbing alcohol, lime alcohol, all these things. But acts that are makruh but do not invalidate the fast. It does not invalidate the fast, but why? It has what? That attached state, that karaha attached state, being makruh. Why? Because of two things. A person, he jeopardizes his fast, and secondly, a person enters into his what? Into his mouth a fast breaking agent without a valid reason. For example, tasting. Yes, obviously you're going to spit it out, right? A person go in the kitchen and what? Take a piece of chicken and bite it up, right? And afterwards, get all the taste from it and then spit it out and rinse his mouth. The fast nullified? No. But what kind of... and just bite and eat and what? And spit out. That is what? Makruh. That is disliked, right? A person shouldn't do that, right? So now, okay, the women folks would ask if it's permissible to what? To taste, right? That depends on what? Husbands of two types, right? Grumpy husbands and non-grumpy husband, right? Understand, if a woman cooking all the time, the only thing they might fall short is some salt, right? And if it is that what the husband going to make noise, but he shouldn't what? Do anyhow, right? And he going to make a big fuss, that is food tasting like this, and a whole, you're going to hear that for the whole night, right? Khalas, is allowed for her to taste and spit out, right? She doesn't have a grumpy husband, right? Then don't have to spit, you don't have to taste that. You shouldn't avoid tasting, right? The fuqaha, the jurors, they have mentioned, yes, for a woman, a mother who has to what? Puree the food for her child, right? Normally would bite it, right? Bite it up, pure it, and what? And feed it to the child. There's no dislike in that. But now we have all kind of thing to, but still, the allowance there, right? Grumpy? Right, so that is what understood, right? But by what? The tahniq, what all you're doing is what? Biting it up, chewing it, making it soft, right? You're making it soft, yes, with your saliva in it, but you're not swallowing it. So that won't be a, because that's a valid reason, right? No. Using what? we always say every year, toothpaste, but every day we brushing our teeth. Alright? And we're going to work too, we're working amongst people. Mouth can be smelling. Alright? But yes, it falls under the category of being makruh. Why? Because toothpaste is what? A fast breaking agent that you enter into your mouth, right? You're tasting. And secondly, it is a possibility that what? It enters the throat. A person will say, no, that's not going to enter the throat. I'm going to what? Rinse your mouth. I'm going to rinse my mouth. Yes. But if you rinse your mouth and some remnants remain, there's some remnants in it, a little amount in it remains, mixes with the saliva, then enters the throat, what happens to the fast? The fast becomes nullified. Right? Understand the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he mentioned, La khalufu fam as-sa'im atyabu inda Allah min rih al-misk. The scent that comes out from what? The mouth of a fasting person is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the scent of musk. We're not speaking what stick up between your teeth, boy. You know, you have to clean that. All that you have to floss and clean. Right? What the hadith is referring to, what? That scent that comes from the stomach. Because of what? It is empty. Right? It's not a sunnah to have your mouth smelling in the month of Ramadan when you're fasting. No, Nabi Aisam used to use miswak right through, right? Use miswak, so at least that is why if you stop a few minutes before, 5 minutes before, you're able to what? Floss and use your toothbrush and your toothpaste and whatever. You use your mouthwash and everything and rinse properly. Good, right? After that now, the break of dawn enters, all the cleaning should be what? Use your miswak. And if you want to use what? Your toothbrush, no problem. Use your toothbrush and water. That is a good job. Right? Toothbrush and water. And if you insist you want to use what? Toothpaste, then khalas. Make sure you rinse it properly. Don't gargle as you mentioned. Rinse. And if you want to wash, if you want to brush at least what? The front part. Don't go too much to the back. Right? And rinse it thoroughly. Right? Otherwise, if anything remains, mixes with the saliva and enters the throat, the fast will be nullified. Right? Miswak, the natural miswak, right? You use the natural miswak. And you spit out, and whatever little remnants remain, that is what? That is pardonable. Right? But the thing about it, we don't really have natural miswaks here in Trinidad. Right? All the miswak that is imported, none of them natural, even though they write natural. All these miswaks are dipped into what? A preservative. Right? So it has what? A foreign substance state. So if you're going to use that, then no problem. But a person needs to rinse his mouth after using that miswak. Right? And even though you use the normal, whatever miswak you want to use, whatever vine you want to use, right? You use it, but you need to what? Spit out that. A few bristles remain in your mouth, you don't swallow it, you spit out that too. Gargling, as you mentioned, it doesn't really fast, but why it makruh? Because a person gargling, that's what, as you mentioned, that is what? For ghusl, not for what? Wudu. A person gargling is a possibility that the water could trickle and go down accidentally. Right? You gargling and somebody, hey, how you going, boy? And he hits in your back over here. Right? And somewhat, khalas, the fast nullified. So as you mentioned, even a person in need of ghusl and he is fasting, then what? He should what? Avoid gargling, rinse him out. Right? Chewing on sometimes we have a habit to chew on a piece of something like this, a piece of thread, a piece of plastic, right? You bite your nail and you're chewing on it, right? All these things, understand, it is what? Tasteless, right? It is tasteless, so what the mere chewing would not nullify the fast. Why? Because nothing mixes with the saliva, no substance mixes with the saliva to enter the throat if a person were to swallow, right? Meaning what? Nothing enters. But if you were to swallow the cloth and the thread and the nail, yes, that would what? Nullify the fast. But the mere what? Biting on that, it doesn't what? On chewing on that, it doesn't what? Nullify the fast. Why? Because it's what? It's tasteless. Right? As opposed to what? A piece of gum or something, you just what? You're not swallowing, you just what? Chewing. It's that substance, it has substance in it and that mixes with the saliva and enters the throat, that would nullify. Right? You probably can remember when you were small also, what? Time for Salah. Just before Salah, you put a toffee in your mouth, a sweet in your mouth. Time to pray now. You're going to throw it out? So you have it in your mouth, You keep it in the mouth like that until what? Salah finish. And while Salah going on, that melting and going on what? Going on in your throat. There are no Salah that is eaten, that tantamount to eating in Salah. Right? So keep the wrapper. Now, lip balm, right? All this lip balm and all this any chapstick and all these what? Moisteners that is placed on the lip. Understand? That in itself does not nullify the fast. Alright? Except that we have what? We have the tendency to what? Play with the lip like this. So when the tongue goes on the lip and goes back inside, what it does, it takes that fast breaking agent from outside, brings it inside the mouth, mixes with what? Saliva, and what? It goes on the throat. So, I know the woman, how to make out in Ramadan with the lipstick. You have, I don't know, you can't put the what? How you call the waterproof one, because to make wudu will be an issue, right? So I don't, or try, I don't know how you're going to do that, right? Now, so the above over here, what we just mentioned is makruh and dislike. It doesn't nullify, but why is makruh and dislike? Is because what? We taken what? Foreign substances, fast breaking agent, entering it into the mouth without any valid reason. And secondly, which is more important, that what a person is actually jeopardizing his fast, is that possible that what? These substances enter the throat. Now, nutritional injections, supplements, a B12, a booster shot, right? The Arab scholars, some of the Arab scholars, they of the opinion that what? They give fatwa that if a person fasting and he takes any of these supplemental injections and boosters, and it will nullify the fast. Why? Because this is what tantamount to eating, right? But according to the principle, it does not nullify the fast, right? So we say it does not nullify the fast, except that it is makruh, right? Obviously, when a person fasting, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel that weakness, and you're going to feel that comes with fasting. So it's not like you're going to fast and afterwards what? A booster, and take a booster shot, right? A B12, understand that? It does not nullify the fast, but if it is done without a valid reason, it is makruh, right? For example, listen, you go to the doctor, you're feeling sick, but you can manage with your fast, right? So the doctor said, listen, you have what? Medication, you can either take it orally or I'll give you an injection through IV, right? So you're up for what? The injection. At least what? You keep your fast. Understand? Acts that nullify the fast and necessitate qada. It nullifies the fast and necessitates qada only. So what that means, there are certain what? Understand? Any fast that has been nullified, whether it be for a valid reason, not valid reason, however it was nullified, it necessitates qada. Qada is to make up for that one day. Right? Now there's what? The concept of kafara. Kafara is that atonement or a penalty for breaking the fast of Ramadan in a specific manner. So all fast that is broken, there is qada, and it depends on how it was broken. There may also be any qada plus what? Kafara. And kafara is to fast for 60 consecutive days. 59 finished. You didn't make the last one, you start over. Alright? So there are certain acts, it depends on the manner in which what? The fast was nullified. There's what? Together with qada, there's kafara. So you have what? 1 plus 60, 61 days. Smoking what? Smoking nullifies the fast. There's only qada for that. Right? There could be kafara for smoking also. We'll mention that just now. Right? Water slips down the throat accidentally. Fast nullified. There's qada, no kafara. Right? Enema, meaning what? Medicine inserted from what? Inserted in the rectum. Right? Gel, for medical reasons. Right? Insertion of any liquid in that passage. It nullifies the fast. Right? Qada only, no kafara. Any vomiting a mouthful, deliberately vomiting, which amounts to a mouthful, there's what? Fast is nullified, there's qada, no kafara, right? Applying what? Medicine to the mouth, the nose, and it enters the throat, qada, only, no kafara, right? Right? A person also what? Eating and drinking, assuming that what? The break of dawn hasn't entered as yet. Right? A person eating and drinking, thinking that what? Hey, it is still what? It is still night. And lo and behold what? Hey, you watch slow, boy. Right? You watch slow. The break of dawn already entered. So that fast is what? Nullified. Fast is broken. Right? Even though he ate and he drank deliberately. Right? But that is something done mistakenly. Why? Because he assumed that what? The night is still there. Not knowing that the break of dawn has already entered. Right? So what are you going to do? No, Allah knows best. Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. Yes, but you still have to do qada. You understand? Every fast that has been what? That is broken in Ramadan, the general rule is that that person must abstain from eating and drinking until sunset and do qada of that fast. So it's not that, okay, my fast already nullified, my fast already broken. It was done accidentally, but already broken, so I'm going to eat and drink as normal. No. He's not allowed to eat and drink until what? Until the break of dawn, until what? Sunset. And he has to do qada. The only exception to the rule here is what? A menstruating woman. Right? A woman in her menses, right? Then she's allowed to what? In the month of Ramadan, the day of Ramadan, the days of Ramadan, she's allowed to eat and drink, except it should not be done in the public. Right? How you call a musafir who chooses to what? To delay the fast. A musafir, a traveler who chooses to delay the fast, then what? He's given that concession. He's allowed to eat and drink, except it should not be done in the public. Right? But the moment that traveler becomes a muqim, during the day of Ramadan, how does a traveler become a muqim? Understand, a traveler could become what? A muqim, a resident, or a temporary resident. It doesn't matter. But the moment he becomes a resident, whether it be a temporary resident or a permanent resident, then he must abstain from eating and drinking until what? Sunset. For example, a person is traveling. He's a traveler by definition of Sharia. He reaches his place of destination. Upon reaching the place of destination, he makes what? Intention to stay for 15 days or more. He becomes a temporary resident. That concession of what? Of not fasting is not given to him. So even though he started off the day not fasting, then he must refrain from eating and drinking until sunset. Right? Similarly, if that traveler returns home, right, he took what? The concession of what? Not fasting, right? But the moment he crosses and enters the boundary of his hometown, in 10 or in 10, doesn't matter. The moment he enters the boundary of his hometown, he becomes a resident. Becoming a resident, then he must refrain from eating and drinking until what? Until sunset. Alright? Until sunset. A woman who experienced her menstrual cycle in the days of Ramadan, now she becomes clean during the day. Understand? The fast starts from what? You don't have a portion of the day you fast, right? She becomes clean what? After the break of dawn. 10 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, anytime after the break of dawn. Now, she has to refrain from eating and drinking until sunset. And we mentioned also, okay, that we dealt with that. Right, now acts that what? Not only necessitate qada but kafara. Acts that do not only what? Necessitate qada, but on top of that kafara. Right, that is what? Kafara. We mentioned about kafara. Alright, understand? Kafara is to fast for 60 consecutive days for a person who is able to fast. What was the benefit in mention a person is able to fast? That is how what the kafara became obligatory upon him anyhow, because what? He was fasting. No. Sometimes listen, a person what? 5 years ago, that happened to him. That kafara is still what? Upon his shoulders. But I did that 5 years ago. I intentionally ate or drank something or was fasting. About 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that is still obligatory upon the individual. Right? Except that it doesn't what? If a person, for example, last year plus last 5 years, plus last 10 years, right? He had about what? 5, 6, 7 kafara to make. Why? Because he ate intentionally, drank intentionally, right? So long, that what? All of that kafara, all of that would what? The atonement of one kafara would suffice. So if it happened 5 times, you don't have to do what? 5 different kafara. You understand? That is provided until now a person has done no kafara. But if what? After the first incident, he did kafara, right? And after that now, he ate and drank intentionally about 3 other times, right? That first kafara will not suffice for what? This. You will have to do what? A next one, alright? So the sequence is what? The not sequence of choice is what? Ability. A person has the ability to fast. You know what? He did something about 10 years ago, but now he reaches a age and a stage, and because of health, he cannot fast. Understand? Because he's not fasting Ramadan too. He cannot fast. He cannot do kafara. Then for that person, he would give what? He would feed what? 60 people, right? He would feed any 60 people 2 meals, one in the morning, one in the evening, alright? Understand when I say 60 people, 1 meal in the morning, 1 meal in the evening. If you want to feed what? 6 people, that is not, he could do that also. Feed 6 people, morning and evening for 10 days. Or once you get the multiples inside, or you feed what? 10 people, right? Morning and evening for 6 days to make up your 60, right? He can do that. Or he can give them what? Grains, right? Wheat, 1.7 grams of wheat, right? To 60 people or 60 individuals. Or if he wants, he can give the monetary value, what you call fidya. No, it doesn't have to be consecutive. Yeah. So the same day, morning and evening, that is one. Right? You can feed one person, right? Feed them for 60 days. Whatever easier. But the easiest thing is so what? Give the monetary value. Listen, fidya is how much? $18, right? We say just $18, but you can get fidya for around, if you check it properly, what? It comes out with $15, right? But we have $18, right? If you ever feed a man in the morning, how much will it cost? Right? How much will it cost in the morning? I don't know, about $20? Are you going to feed him in the evening? How much are going to cost? Right? Right? So that is what? 20 and 40, 60. You could give, that is 4 days fidya there. That is 4 what? That is 4 fast. 4 days. Right? You can't give a man bread. But why do you do that? Eh? Bread and what? The mother and mother give me bread to eat. So anyhow, the monetary value. Alright?
What I think that necessitates paying of the fidya.
Okay. Fidya, understand, we spoke about temporary exemptions and permanent exemptions. Temporary exemption from fasting, for example, a person was sick, a person is a traveler, a woman, a pregnant woman who fears for herself or her child, right? A nursing woman, all of these are temporary exemption in the sense that what presently they cannot fast, so they would delay that fast and make up for it in the future. They will do qada. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. That is what temporary. Now you have permanent exemption. Permanent exemption are for those people who cannot fast presently and also what? Anytime in the future. Right? They cannot fast now, and these people are going to find better days in the future whereby they can fast. Right? They cannot fast at all. Not now, no anytime in the future. The fuqaha, the jurists, they give the example of a Sheikh Al-Fani. Right? A person so old that he cannot fast, and every day that passes he gets more weaker. And what? Weaker, so he's not going to find better days where he could fast. So he would give fidya for the entire month. Also, a person that has a chronic illness that prevents him from fasting. Understand, a chronic illness, listen, you have to live the rest of your life like that. Alright? You don't have to be an old person, you could be a young person, but that person diagnosed with such an illness that, listen, he cannot fast, and that person will not find better days in the future, so he would give what? Fidya. You understand? He would give fidya. So pregnant women, travelers, this and that, there's no fidya for that. They have to make up even after 10, 20, 30 years, they'll have to make up for it. Right? Here we're speaking about individuals who are not going to find better days to make up for it. Alright? So they will give fidya. And similarly, listen, a person what? He has what? Cover fast to make. Understand? In the past. Now he reached a stage that, listen, after 23 years, he now thinking he has all his cover to make, right? Now he cannot fast because of a sickness or because of what? Old age, and he's not going to find better days. So that person will give fidya for what? The past fast also, alright? And fidya is what? The same what? Fidya, sadaqatul fitr, all is what? The same calculation, same amount, alright? 1.7 kg of wheat or its value. Right, so the month of Ramadan enters in a person what? He knows that he cannot fast now or no time in the future, then that person what? He gives fidya. Right, that is about how much? $18 by what? 30 days, $540. Alright? Understand? Somebody asked a question, not here, right? Is it allowed? And apparently I don't know if they do that, right? Is it allowed to what? Take fidya money, right, and feed what? Iftar. No, that is not allowed, right? If you want to feed khalas, you feed them, no problem, but you feed them not paid, right? Understand? The recipients of fidya, the recipients of sadaqat al-fitr, the recipients of zakah are the same, right? Poor Muslims, right? When you say poor by definition of the Sharia, right? Poor by definition of the Sharia, right? They are the same recipients. So when you have iftar, I don't think any masjid is going to have iftar what? And only what? Poor people. You understand? So that cannot be used for what? To feed fasting people. And if a person up for feeding, the feeding is what? 2 meals. One in the morning, one in the evening. So I give them what? Sehri too. Alright? But the recipients must be what? Poor people. Alright? And it's easier to do what? To take that $540, right? If you don't have all at once. But that easier to give than what? Iftar is what? It costs more anyhow. Right? And it doesn't fulfill what? The obligations of what? Paid that fidya. Isha is what? 8 o'clock? Okay. Alright, we're just finishing over here, right? So eating, drinking, deliberately, a person is aware that he is fasting, right? He eats, drinks deliberately. Understand? It doesn't mean I eat plenty, you know what? I take a coca water, and you know what? By 60 days I coca water, boy. So it doesn't mean that a person eats a whole meal or drinks a good portion. No, eating, drinking, anything, right? Deliberately, knowing that he is fasted nullifies, right? Nullifies the fast and what necessitates kafara. A person having what? Marital relation, understand? We have to what? To the extent that what? The male private part enters the female private part just to the extent that the head is not showing. To that extent, the entire shaft isn't entered as yet. But that amount necessitates what? It breaks the fast, necessitates any qada and kafara. Ejaculation is not a condition. The entrance, total entrance is not a condition. This mere entrance, it nullifies the fast, necessitates qada plus kafara by 60 days. What it? 60 days, why? Right. When we spoke about what? The smoking, right? We have one again. Let me finish, right? Smoking, we start with this one. We mentioned what? Husbands of 2 types. Smokers of 2 types. With regard to smoking, yes, smoking nullifies. Smoking, vaping, all these what? All these things would nullify the fast, right? But smokers of 2 types. You have a casual smoker and you have a what? A chronic habitual smoker. A chronic habitual smoker is what? He has a nicotine dependency. Understand? So that chronic smoker, if he were to smoke, right, if he were to smoke, that does not only necessitate qada but also kafara. Right? That is tantamount to what eating and drink. It satisfies the what desire of the body. Understand? You see people working. Some people when they come to work and they have what? They come with a nice lunch, right? And they eat the lunchtime. And mostly with these construction workers, and they start to work. You have some of them that take what? One smoke, right? And they're working better than everybody else. This is what it does, right? That nicotine is what it does. So for that individual who has what? A nicotine dependency and he were to smoke, right? Not only is his fast nullified and what? Qadha is necessary, but also kafara. Bas. No, the man break fast, but yeah, it's qadha. Right? We have plenty yet to cover in Ramadan, but I suggest that next week is the last class before Ramadan. If you all want to continue with this, right, the laws and the aspects relating to what Ramadan and fasting, or you want to what, we do a summary of this whole what zakah, the rules of zakah, the concept of zakah. Who has to pay, who could receive, understand that. What is it? Because understand, I mean, Ramadan, there's no connection between Ramadan and Zakah, you know. Understand, there's no connection between Ramadan and Zakah. It's just that most people what? They choose to what? Pay their Zakah in Ramadan, right? So, and, what is it? Imam Sahib? Continue it? Right, so we have plenty yet to finish, right? But because people normally ask about zakah, listen. If you give me, if you don't restrict my timing, I don't mind. Right? If next week you only want to go to 8 to what, 5 to 8, right? Huh? Then it'll come up Marbella. Alright, we'll see inshallah, right? We'll plan better next year, right? That whole what we did in the beginning of marriage, we could have probably delayed that for next time because we didn't finish anyhow and we started this. So we plan better next year inshallah. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك